Microsoft's next operating system could be subscription-based. According to several articles, leaks, and sources, the next version of Windows, presumably Windows 12, could see the introduction of forcing the end user to pay to use his or her computer. However, it's not likely the operating system itself will become subscription-based, but rather, the user will have to pay a fee to use certain features of Windows. The next version of Windows is rumored to have artificial intelligence features deeply integrated into the OS, and Microsoft could force users to pay some money to use these artificial intelligence features. It could be a way Microsoft increases their revenue. But making an operating system subscription-based would damage their reputation for sure, though many would still have to use Windows due to the fact that they're limited by the software they use. 99.9% of people cannot migrate to Linux or another operating system because they lack the support for the required applications that most people use on a daily basis. Sure, there is a plethora of free and open source software, but the majority of people cannot even fathom how something that's free can be as good, if not better than paid for proprietary software. Please explain to me how we will ever see a year of the Linux desktop. We will never ever see Linux become as popular or as mainstream as Windows or Mac OS. It's not the way the world works. Microsoft has the monopoly and nobody can take them down, so you would be stupid to think and believe that Linux will become popular, especially when Windows 10 hits its end of life. Some people will switch to Linux or some other system, but that's not the majority of Windows users. If Microsoft actually does make Windows subscription-based, it will turn off a lot of users from upgrading to their latest OS, so Microsoft should seriously reconsider their decision to make Windows a subscription-based OS. But you know what, it won't stop people from using it, because a large percentage of Windows users are business users, so they have absolutely no choice but to continue using Microsoft's substandard garbage system. They must use Windows because their hardware and software limitations do not allow for them to use an alternative OS. With the end of support for Windows 10 drawing nearer and nearer, users should start planning ahead and upgrade. Users can opt in to receive additional security updates and improvements past the Windows 10 end of support deadline. However, this will not come for free. It will double in price each year, and you will only get 3 years of extra security patches. So for a lot of people, this ESU program for Windows 10 will not be worthwhile investing in. Users may try to find ways to get these extra updates entirely free of charge. Otherwise they will be putting themselves and their data at risk of serious malware attacks, ransomware, and other nasties. Windows 11 has failed miserably, especially since it saw the introduction of incredibly restrictive minimum hardware requirements, which has stopped many people from upgrading. We are kind of having a Windows Vista all over again, except it's even worse this time round. And what we can expect to see in Windows 12 is more telemetry that is deeply baked into the operating system, less control and preference in the hands of the end user. He or she must abide by Microsoft's decision to randomly update their PC whenever Microsoft feels like it. You will have absolutely no freedom to install Linux or another OS alongside Windows, due to the TPM module being used to store keys for one system. It will not allow for two systems to dual boot alongside each other, and you can expect more blue screens of death, more updates which completely fuck up the computer and render it unusable. Excuse my French. And the fact that we may be forced into using artificial intelligence features is a big no-no, especially because we should be the ones who actually own our computers. Let me tell you Windows users something. You do not own the computer you use. Microsoft completely dictates the way you're allowed to use it, what you can and cannot do with it, and they can shove updates on it whenever they see it fit, whereas Linux users have complete and total control over their system. They get to choose when they install updates. They have no bloatware or software that's unremovable. 99.9% of Linux distros don't collect, store, or sell any sort of information about your system, or you, the user. So maybe Linux is worthy of respect and praise. because it actually offers you a reasonably secure, stable, and robust OS, which puts you in the driver's seat so to speak, whereas with Windows, all the control and freedom is taken away from you, and you have to say yes when Microsoft says let me screw you harder. That's a really good way to compare Linux and Windows. But this has nothing to do with the fact that the next version of Windows is likely going to be a complete abysmal failure, especially if Microsoft makes it subscription-based. This will mean that the user must pay a monthly fee to use their computer. That really brings home that point about Windows users having absolutely no control over their system. It is so true you cannot possibly deny it or laugh at it, so maybe Linux will become of more interest, but only to certain groups of people. Linux sadly lacks the majority of business standard software that people have been using for the longest time, and the workarounds to use Windows software on Linux are only good for basic to intermediate applications. Anything which is deemed as intensive will most likely fail to work in a virtual machine or inside a compatibility layer, and a dual boot can be a massive headache, especially for less experienced users. So for most people, Linux will not cut the mustard so to speak. Windows runs what everyone needs, hence why everyone uses it, regardless of whether they personally want to use it or not. At the end of the day, you're forced into using whatever system you use, because of the hardware, software, and your budget. Those with less money will seek free operating systems as they are tight on money and need to save some money. The wealthy elite will use Mac OS, because Apple products are boutique collector's items. I don't care what anyone else says about them, they're overpriced bits of rubbish that will only become outdated in the years to come, and just about everyone else uses Windows and Android, because they have to, and the only real Linux users are developers, coders, people who run Linux servers or workstations, embedded systems, etc. Linux is by all means very unpopular in the desktop market. Nobody is convinced to try it, even though it offers them a free system to use, and most people will not care enough about the benefits of Linux to even think about using it. So stop saying there will be a year of the Linux desktop. There never has been, there never will be, and you have to suck it up, buttercup. Deal with the fact that Linux is really a geek-type operating system that the nerds and enthusiasts use. Real working-class people do not use macOS or Linux unless they need it, and many content creators rely on Windows as well. Only a small number do that on Linux. Anyway, what are your opinions on Windows 12 becoming subscription-based? Will Microsoft likely do this? Let us all know down in the comments section below. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. See you next video. Bye for now.